Chapter. When Kenneth left the house to find his sister, the sun was still just breaking through the thick clouds. Having circled the village of Little Haven, Kenneth's voice was beginning to give out. Esme! Esme! She wasn't even in their place under the big oak that stands in the middle of the wheat field near the house. Desperate, he sat under the oak tree for several hours until it began to drizzle. Sound of wet footsteps behind him, and saw Esme. Kenneth was angry, but his sister's shabby appearance immediately softened his tone. Where have you been? I was looking all over for you. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Come on, the hurricane's coming. Kenneth took his sister's hand and led her toward the house. Well, you're all wet. What happened? Oh, I was attacked by a monster. A monster? I ran away from it and got lost. Well, now Mom and Dad will think that we ran away. I'm sorry. No need to apologize. Just don't do it again. But You're too old for these fairy tales. You're the one in denial. Esme was soaking wet, and her small steps were accompanied by squelching sounds. Kenneth stopped and helped Esme pour the water out of her boots. How did you get so much water in there? I don't know. After wrapping her in his jacket, Kenneth rushed down the washed-away trail to the house. Thanks. The way home was riddled with fear of the impending punishment, along with squelching boot noises. Well, it's a good thing that Grandma doesn't know, or who knows what she might think up. I agree. Grandma always has some story in her head. 5 minutes late, and she already imagines a pack of angry dogs or bandits attacking you. Or that you tripped over a rock in the woods and fell unconscious, face first, into an anthill. This conversation lifted their spirits. When is Grandma coming? I don't know. Probably whenever she and Dad make up. Oh, I miss Grandma. A heavy silence fell, but it didn't last long. Do you remember Baloo? With those words, it was as if she had stabbed Kenneth between the ribs. He remembered. That was the name of the dog the Murphy family had buried a couple of years ago. Kenneth was very fond of Baloo, and his death really hit him hard. And then, for a few months, he slept, hugging his old collar. At first, Kenneth could burst into tears at any time, so that even the other side of the pillow wasn't always dry. Probably on Christmas. What? Grandma's probably coming for Christmas. She always comes. Is that soon? Well, after the snow falls and a bit of a waiting, when the decorating is finished. At that moment, they had almost reached the plot, surrounded by a fence looking fairly battered after all the years. As soon as they crossed it, something frightened Esme. She froze, pointing her finger toward the shed at the pier. Oh, hear that? What? There's a monster. Well, let's go home, or we'll get in trouble. As if she had heard something, Esme began to make a whining sound. Well, it's going to be okay. Come on. But he will come at night. Well, we'll make sure there aren't any monsters and go home, okay? Okay. Kenneth took her hand and they went to the pier. Esme clutched Kenneth's hand, squeezing his palm. Even on the way to the shed, Esme was trying to look behind the half-open doors, which were moaning on the rusted hinges. In the half-light, it made tense even Kenneth. After approaching the shed, Kenneth opened the door in one motion, propped it with a stone, and then, with a bold gesture, invited Esme to come in. Oh, I'm scared. Thunder rumbled. Oh, did you see that? Someone was there. Nobody's here. Come on. Why do you say that when you saw him yourself? You were looking right at him. Well, I saw, like, it must have been some kind of a shadow, like yours. Kenneth took control of the situation. He was fooling around. He went inside with swagger, demonstrating the absence of monster, although he doubted it himself. Not a soul. But the door was open. Oh, it's always open. Dad must have been in here recently. We'll close the door. Before Esme could answer, Kenneth took her in his arm and carried her out of the shed, knocking out the stone that held the door on the way. And then, for Esme's peace of mind, he slid back the loosened latch. Esme pressed herself against Kenneth's shoulder and whispered in his ear, "Are you sure he won't come out?" Kenneth played along. Of course. Have you seen how big the lock is? Esme had calmed down, but later added very quietly under her breath, "I hope it's not too cold in there for him." On the doorstep, Kenneth met Mom and Dad. They were solemnly showing out a stranger in a formal outfit. As soon as he approached, the adults' conversation stopped. "Go up to your room, honey. I'll be right there." Satisfied that they had escaped punishment, Kenneth and Esme hurried up the stairs to their room. In the room, there was a glass of milk and a plate of pancakes on the table waiting for them. Kenneth took the wet jacket off Esme, rubbed her hair with a thin blanket, and sat her down at the table. "Here, you should eat." "Oh, thank you." "They're quite cold, though. Do you want me to go downstairs and warm them up?" "Oh, no, they're delicious. Thanks." "Don't go down there. Sit with me." Kenneth was afraid of his parents' reaction to their escape. But everything was still quiet. "Well, let's hang the wet dress up to dry." "Oh, thanks." "Now go to bed." Kenneth covered his sister with a blanket and lay down on his bed. They were both staring blankly at the ceiling until Esme said, "Oh, I wish the monster was gone." "Oh, it's going to be okay. You need to sleep. All right. Esme curled up into a ball and turned to the wall. There was an awkward knock at the door, followed by the equally awkward mother's tone. Are you okay? Kenneth looked at Esme. She was almost sleeping. Yep. Behind his mother, he heard Father's quiet voice from downstairs. Oh, don't wake him up. Good night. The door closed. Esme rustled in bed and turned to Kenneth. Why didn't they scold us? I don't know. It seemed that Esme had fallen asleep. He heard his parents talking softly downstairs. Then he heard cabinet doors opening and a kind of softly tinkling. It became more quiet. Kenneth was sleepy. He overheard the room door creaking. Kenneth pretended to be asleep. A beam of light spilled onto his bed from the half-open door. A moment later, the door closed gently. Kenneth fell asleep. Thunder rumbled. As Kenneth opened his eyes a little, he flinched to the wall out of fright as he saw Esme's shadow in front of him in the light of the lightning flash. She was sitting on the bed, terrified, with her knees pressed to her chest. The door to the room was open. Kenneth ran to her and knelt beside her. What's the matter? Are you afraid of the thunder? Oh, there was a monster looking for something. Kenneth was confused, feeling helpless because of his sister's behavior. Usually, stories about the monster didn't go this far. Well, what was the monster looking for? Oh, for me, of course, but I hid like this. She demonstrated, covering her eyes with her palms. Even being this close, he didn't see me. What a stupid fool. Searched through the nightstands, the closet, under the bed, as if I could fit in there. You want me to call Mom and Dad? Oh, no, don't. Kenneth noticed a puddle on the sheet under Esme and read shame in her eyes. Pretending there was nothing there, he moved her to his bed. Why didn't you call the parents? Oh, I was scared. You and I are already in trouble. And what happened next? Oh, at some point, he leaned over you as if he wanted to bite off half of your face with his big, toothy jaws. Or to kiss you, ha ha. Yes? Well, I didn't see. He attacked me differently. So your monster wants to give me a kiss, but attacks you? I wonder what new notes are you going to add to your diary about the monster? Esme became upset. Kenneth gave up. He just sat there for a while, waiting for what came next. Esme ran to her bed, lifted the corner of the mattress briskly, took out her diary, and put it in Kenneth's hands, as if trying to convince him of something. Kenneth knew about the diary, but Esme always kept it to herself. The book looked worn out, and at the same time, girly neat. Kenneth carefully held the diary in his hands, appreciating Esme's trust. A bow knot. Well done, Kenneth thought, keeping all jokes to himself for the time being. Oh, read. Maybe later? He put the diary on his nightstand. Oh, you won't laugh, will you? Esme asked as if she regretted giving away her personal diary. Oh, of course not. And don't tell anyone. Esme sat in front of Kenneth with glowing eyes and seemed not to even think about it. While Kenneth was wondering how to calm Esme down, she continued the conversation first. Well, have you ever seen it? Oh, the monster? Yep. Oh, maybe. I'm not sure. Honestly, what is it like? Big and scary? Oh, that's it. Why doesn't anyone believe me? I really did see it. Well, they don't believe you because they haven't seen it.